Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Heistmoss. I'm the Director of Alumni Programs at Girls Who Code. Thank you for so much for joining us this Thursday evening for our third talk in the Girls Who Code Talk series. I'm really excited to invite our moderator, Tarika Barrett, to join us today. Tarika is the COO of Girls Who Code. She oversees all of the organization's free educational programming and our people and culture teams. Tarika also serves on the board of CS for All, an organization committed to making high-quality computer science an integral part of the educational experience of all K-12 students and teachers, and to support student pathways to college and career success. Tarika has spent her time during COVID enjoying French fries, true story, her favorite food, and watching movies with her children. Tarika, take it away.
Thank you so much, Emily. I didn't quite expect that you would phrase it exactly so in terms of me eating French fries in the pandemic, but I really appreciate the introduction. And thank you, viewers, for joining us for the third session of our four-part series, Girls Who Code Talks. Again, my name is Tarika, and I'm happy to be back to moderate tonight's conversation around alternative summer plans for 2020 college students and ways to navigate virtual internship experiences. Tonight, our panelists will share ways to maintain momentum with skill building and profile building projects. They'll also give advice on how to make the best of virtual career experiences. And with that, I am pleased to introduce Keona Campbell. Keona is a recruiter of university and diversity programs at Xandr, an AT&T company. And I have to pause and give a huge shout out to Xandr and AT&T. You have been such amazing partners to Girls Who Code in supporting our work for so many years, so thank you. Keona has a background in higher education and nonprofit work, where she was able to fulfill her passion for supporting students of color. And last, Keona has a love for bubble tea, watching sci-fi television shows, that's what's up by the way, and baking. We also have Chelsea Williams with us. Chelsea is the founder and CEO of College Code. Chelsea spent nearly 10 years on Wall Street, managing and leading global human capital initiatives across the United States, Europe, and Asia. Chelsea loves indoor cycling and actually purchased a cycling bike to bring Soul Cycle to her living room because Chelsea's not playing any games after being housebound due to COVID-19. And one final fun fact about our they both have supported the Girls Who Code alumni team prior to joining tonight's panel. So we are especially thankful that you're giving us more of your time tonight. So thank you both. For our viewers, as always, we encourage you to share your thoughts and questions in the chat box, and a member of the Girls Who Code staff will respond. And so we want to kick off tonight's conversation with an icebreaker for our panelists. The question I'm going to ask you both to think about is, what's the most valuable piece of career advice you've been given, and who gave it to you? And so for our viewers, while our panelists are thinking about that, give me 1 second. I'm seeing the poll too and cannot see my notes. Sorry about that. For our viewers, we'll be posing a similar icebreaker question for you to answer using the polls feature. This will be the first of 3 polling questions, and you will have 30 seconds to respond. So for now, join us and share your answer to the icebreaker. Who do you look to for career advice? And so, Keona, while folks are thinking about that for 30 seconds, I want to start and ask you to kick us off by sharing who's given you the best career advice and what was that advice?
Thanks for asking. This is very non-traditional. This is someone who has less career experience than I do, but the person who gives me the best career advice is my younger sister. So she is 5 years younger than me, and she is an amazing freelancer in the graphic design space, and her advice is always solid. I'm someone who is always on the go. I need to make sure things are perfect, and I never sit down. And for her, the recent advice she gave me was just sit down and breathe. Just take a step back and just relax. And for her, one thing that she does is to take daily walks. So I started taking those opportunities with her to do that.
Thank you so much, Keona. That's actually amazing. Your sister sounds wise beyond her years, because that whole sit down and take a moment, that's wisdom right there. Chelsea, I want to ask you the same question. What would you want to share with us? Chelsea, are you there? Listen, I know we had Chelsea. So the question is, where is she now? Because I see her. So I'm going to give Chelsea 1 minute. For our Girls Who Code team, let's just double check if we can get, oh, I see. Chelsea, you're muted. That could be a huge factor. I do see that. You know what we can do? Let's actually look at some of what our answers are, and then we can come back to Chelsea to try to get her answer to this question. Hopefully that works for our Girls Who Code team. Maybe we can start looking at some of the answers we got to our poll in terms of who folks look to in terms of career advice. So what I'm seeing here is that our top 3 answers were parents, no surprise, followed by teachers or professors. And then folks said, you know, that larger category of just other folks. While we're waiting for Chelsea, I'll say that for me, it is definitely, I would say my girlfriends, the folks who are at that same point in their career as I am, who I can turn to and just sort of say, what do you think about this? And the best piece of advice I've ever gotten is to, even if it doesn't seem like, to basically give something a shot, even if it's not exactly in your comfort zone. And I've really appreciated that. It's made me think about things that I may have in the past just said, oh, I don't want to do that. And they've kind of pushed me to say, why don't you think about it? Why don't you give it a shot? So any word from the Girls Who Code team, whether we have Chelsea and if she's able to join us, either audio, video, or both?
I think we're looking to get in contact with her.
Okay,
She's coming back.
Listen, I know she's coming back. The question is when. And so with that, I might keep us moving a bit. So thank you everyone, viewers, for participating in that quick poll. We definitely want to get Chelsea back, but as we're working to do that, I want to keep our conversation going because there's so much for us to talk about. And we recognize that all of us can use a little bit of advice as COVID-19 has the tech landscape and opportunities continuously changing. And so as we move into tonight's panel discussion, we want to find out how students can better navigate all of these changes. And so if you're a returning viewer, you know that we look to address the concerns of our college-aged alumni and students across the country who are in varying stages of their college experience. Our first question for panelists really has our rising college and first-year students at the forefront of our minds. And so we've all seen the articles and reports stating that hundreds of companies have canceled their internship programs and have rescinded offers. Many of the cancellations stem from things that you can imagine, logistical challenges, or from cost cutting at companies that are being cautious or who have suffered economic damage from the pandemic. This makes it really difficult to land an internship if an offer has not already been confirmed. And so the question that I want to sort of start off with, for students who are in this predicament with no professional experiences lined up for the summer, what alternative skill building activities, gap filling experiences, or professional opportunities should students pursue in lieu of internships? I don't know whether, oh, Chelsea, you're here. Thank goodness. I was about to say, Chelsea, you're on, but I was going to take a risk. So with that, I'm going to let you both answer that question. And also, if you don't mind just tacking on that little bit of, you know, the best career advice and who you got it from, so we can get like a 2-for-1.
Yes, everyone. I'm so excited to meet you today and to be on this panel. Best advice I ever received was from my first mentor when I graduated Spelman College and I started working in finance. I was given a mentor to help me assimilate. And they said, only pursue this career if you're passionate about it. And, you know, at the time, we often hear that comment, do what you're passionate about, do what you love. But it really has been one of the most important things that I ever received in my early career years, because I've been able to really find work that is authentic to who I am.
Okay, so that's the answer to that question. And then your next question, oh, I love this question because I've been thinking about it because there's so many brilliant students across the country who are finding themselves in this situation, right, because of COVID. And the thing is, there's so many things that you can do without an internship. And that's the first thing I want to mention to you. Even though you had a vision for a dream internship, you can use this time to really hone in on a skill set, explore a new hobby or interest. I was speaking with my mentee earlier today, and she said, I lost my internship. What do I do? And I said, what are you passionate about? She said, marketing. You know, I want to get into the marketing space. And I said, you know what? With technology, you have every resource in front of you. From YouTube to podcasts to TED Talks to books, everything is in front of you. So you really want to make sure that you're taking advantage of those resources. So that's what I would say for students. Leverage what you can, leverage what's within your reach.
Chelsea, thank you so much. I love that answer because it's so accessible and it's stuff that you overlook because it's a part of your day-to-day and you don't think it's a skill building activity when it can be. Keona, what do you think about this question, especially with these internships potentially evaporating? What advice do you give around this skill building component?
Yeah, my advice is actually similar to Chelsea's, and in the regards of building on your skills or even building on skills that you hope to learn. For example, there's so many free courses now, and I feel like right now people are willing to have informational interviews and show you, or even job shadow opportunities. One advice that I gave my sister was to build your own curriculum. Like, you may not be in a summer internship, but you can build your own summer curriculum. 9 to 5, you should be doing something, whether it's informational interview at 10 to 11, and then 11 at 12, you could be taking free Coursera courses. And then at 12 to 1, you can be volunteering at a local nonprofit to support their social media campaign. I think volunteerism is something that's really overlooked, and that's an experience where you can really gain those transferable skills, even though you may not be getting paid for it.
I love that answer also. And what's amazing about it is that you're kind of marrying empowerment, but also structure, because this is a really tough time for a lot of people where a lot of these internships would have given you structure. In the absence of that, sometimes it can be daunting. So I love the time blocks as an idea. So thank you so much for sharing that. I also want to be really transparent about how we've thought about this at Girls Who Code. We also made the tough decision to cancel our summer internship program for college-age students, considering the significant financial obligation and the inability to guarantee office space for our interns. However, we are still very much interested in providing college-age alumni and students with the opportunity to join a college loop nearest their location. For more information or to enroll, click on the link that has just been placed in the chat box, and you'll hear from a Girls Who Code staffer in the near future. And moving along in terms of other questions, our next question speaks to current college students who may need internship opportunities to fulfill course requirements, which is a whole other thing. We know not all hope is lost for college students because all internships have not been canceled. We know a number of banks and technology firms have shortened their programs by a few weeks or have converted to virtual experiences. So here comes our second poll for our viewers. Please let us know the status of your summer plans and if you feel prepared for internship opportunities by answering the poll question on your screen. Please remember, you have 30 seconds to respond. And while we wait for our viewers to respond, Keona and Chelsea, our next question for you is, what should students do to prepare for virtual and post-COVID-19 internship opportunities? What types of candidates are employers looking to hire currently and overall? And maybe I'll start and just ask Chelsea if you'd weigh in on that question.
Yeah, sure. I'll start with the skills first because I think that's something that's a little easier to discuss. And on the skills front, I actually have been doing quite a bit of research. There's an organization called the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they're all the universities and colleges across the country and many employers of early career talent. And I was looking at their report of the most important skills that are necessary for students. And what tops the list is problem solving, being a strong critical thinker, communication skills, written and oral, your ability to manage time, intercultural fluency, which is how you connect with who are different from you, which right now we could be all learning about the importance of diversity, inclusion, and equity, right? That matters for organizations. And so those skills are going to be pivotally important. Data analysis, okay? That's very, very important. How do you use technology? Certainly Girls Who Code is leading in that space, but across the board, how do you use technology to communicate with people? It's likely you will be on a global team, or you'll have colleagues who are across the country. So you want to be prepared with those skills. And so I would say that that's really important on the skills piece. The second side of this conversation has to do with what you can do, right? So for some of you who don't have a formal internship, you can be using now to refine your story. You can think about the marketing material, your marketing materials, your resume, your cover letter, LinkedIn, and you can make sure that those are top notch. Because when you do get on campus, it's likely that employers will start to explore options for the fall, getting back in terms of engaging students in a way that they can. This is what I'm hearing. And so you don't want to say, I'm going to wait until the fall. You want to start to build your story and start connecting with employers now. That's going to be critically important. The last piece I'll share is LinkedIn. I have heard that Girls Who Code scholars have LinkedIn. That's what I've been told. You want to make sure that you're getting used to LinkedIn, connecting with people. Certainly, Keona and I, we want to hear from you and anyone else who you connect with, even each other. Start to build those connections virtually, because they're going to be important when you start your job search.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. That is an amazing answer and so thoughtful. Before I hear from Keona, I'm actually going to tell you what our viewers said. So 5% of our viewers have secured an internship and feel prepared for the experience. So that's amazing. Shout out to you for feeling that way. 8% of our viewers have secured an internship experience and do not feel prepared. So again, some of this talk is very much focused on being able to support you. 60% of our viewers have not secured an internship and don't know how to prepare. Thank you for sharing that. This informs this very conversation, and we'll try to be as responsive as we can to that. And finally, 19% of our viewers haven't secured an internship but feel prepared for the experience, which is also great. We want to thank viewers for your bravery and candor and just letting us know where you are, because it really helps our panelists. And with that, Keona, do you want to also respond to sort of the preparation and just what you hear coming out of this polling data from our current viewers?
Yes, thank you all for sharing your situations and where you are right now. It definitely is helpful as I'm speaking to the next point. And that next point is to keep on looking for opportunities. There's still opportunities out there. There's still time. There are companies who are seeing what's happening and are getting creative. So whether it's a part-time internship, an unpaid internship, or even a virtual platform that they're building so that students can get in touch with their colleagues and employers, those are still out there. For one, I would start with your career services office. As a university recruiter, I know there's a strong network of university recruiters and career services out there who really want to support students during this time. So start with your career services office, set up time on their calendar just to figure out what would be the best game plan for you. And you never know who they may know or what opportunities that are on their desk. From there, take advantage of virtual career fairs and virtual platforms that are out there. I know Chelsea mentioned NACE. That's one. AT&T now has a summer virtual platform, and this is an opportunity for students to gain professional skills. Some that Chelsea mentioned, such as problem solving, time management. These are courses that you can take on at your own pace, and you can still put this on your resume as a certificate or a program that you've done throughout COVID-19 and how you build on your skills. And they're really interactive, so you feel like you're gaining something from them. And then lastly is to work on your contacts. So whether it's through your career services office or your own personal branding and folks in your network on LinkedIn, but even also your alumni of Girls Who Code or alumni of your university. Definitely leverage what's out there, because there still are opportunities. So don't want you to feel like it's time to give up. One thing that Chelsea mentioned was problem solving skills. That is so important as a candidate, and that is what employers are always looking for. And that's something I look for in candidates, especially right now. Like, this generation is the biggest problem solvers. They're the biggest group that I know. To be able to get creative during this time and figure out how they're still going to navigate and figure out their summer plans. Another one is curiosity and positivity. I know it is hard to be positive, especially with all that's going on right now and this week in the news and media, but that's definitely something that we look for in candidates and how they really put a spin on things to make it seem like, though I didn't find an internship during this time, I was able to bid on X, Y, and Z skills through these opportunities.
Keona, thank you so much for that. And it's especially meaningful because we know that you actually run the now virtual internship program at Xandr, so your perspective is so valuable. I guess I have a follow-up question both for you and for Chelsea. Where should students actually be looking for internship opportunities? Are there websites, companies, influencers in the tech space that you think our viewers should be following and just thinking about right now? Because obviously everyone is on the hunt for something. Chelsea, do you want to start with that?
Sure. Keona already got us started on that by talking about LinkedIn. That's a big one. I will tell you, I was on LinkedIn an hour before this session. I feel that every time I get on LinkedIn, someone is posting a new internship opportunity, something that they're designing for students, right? So this particular organization called Guild Education out of San Francisco area, they just announced today an internship. First, they marketed it for graduates, but then they said, we want to support recent grads too. And so it is a project-based internship, 7 to 8 different divisions, and they're going to create a project. So it won't be the full internship experience maybe you're used to, but you're still going to get the skills. You're still going to connect with new people. You're still going to understand this ecosystem of education and reform and workforce development. So every day, people are trying to get creative to support your generation. LinkedIn, in Chelsea's opinion, is essential for students and for certainly if you're a graduate. And I think LinkedIn's important regardless of your industry or sector, because that is really like it's like your virtual Rolodex of relationships. It's like replaced all these business cards that maybe you were used to collecting at one point. Now you have it all online. Like, sign me up for that, right? So you...
card is, what are you saying? That's a flash. No one is messing with cards, but I do appreciate you saying that.
So point blank, you need LinkedIn. So if anybody's on the line today, LinkedIn, they're an amazing organization because they put a lot of free content out for students as well. On the College Code website, and I believe it'll be shared in the email in the chat, you will see one thing we have is the LinkedIn checklist. It's basically for people who need help refining your page. It's a one-pager LinkedIn's created for students. So you have an optimal profile that helps you connect with employers and professionals. That's the kind of stuff that you want to be using. Handshake is another one connected to colleges and universities. And then Indeed, I think, is just another search engine that it doesn't hurt for you to check that if you want to talk about local opportunities in your city or your state. Keona, did I miss anything?
That was amazing, Chelsea, especially the concrete resources that you're pointing to. And we're going to try to capture as much of what you said to share with our viewers because those were amazing. And Keona, that is the right question. What did Chelsea miss, if anything?
Chelsea, that was amazing. I think you covered most of it. And with LinkedIn, I feel like people get, or at least I can say from my personal experience, I was worried about LinkedIn because I needed to pay for premium or I needed to put some costs down to take their courses. I think this is a great time to check in with your university. They may have, with your career services office, they may have an opportunity for you to gain free courses through LinkedIn, through Coursera, and check out some other open internships. Some of those may be a future map. They have an internship program where their deadline is tomorrow at midnight, so you still have time. Internhacks.com is an opportunity for students to participate in a project-based internship. And also check out some like freelance opportunities. One freelance job board that I like, and I referred to my younger sister, is Upwork. So that's where you can literally just put a profile together. What are some of your skills that you want to build on or you want to share, and you can even get paid for it. So those are some platforms that I would take advantage of.
That is amazing. I feel like we are absolutely inundated with some really, really cool resources that our viewers can immediately go on and check out and hopefully build their own profile and gain access to some of these opportunities that might not be readily clear to people are still out there. So we appreciate that very much. I also realized that we should plug our Girls Who Code Hire Me, our career readiness platform, specifically for our alums. We have internships and job opportunities posted there from our corporate partners who are looking for talent. So please don't hesitate to check that out or reach out to us should you have questions around that. And I want us to pivot actually to focus on how virtual internships will impact soon-to-be graduates' full-time employment opportunities. We talked about different folks who make up our network, and we really want to think about soon-to-be graduates with this question. So the typical internship includes opportunities for professional development, leadership interaction, and time for special projects. Some students fear the virtual internships will deprive them from the most important aspects of the experience, networking opportunities that could lead to full-time employment. Everyone knows that that FaceTime, that connection, the way that you have that opportunity to come in contact with all these professionals who could help you with your professional trajectory. This is a really big fear. So companies who have little to no experience with remote work before this summer will be using this opportunity to establish a set of best practices, which, if we're going to keep it real, may mean that the experience might be a bit rocky in these virtual settings. So the question for both of you, are virtual internships worth it? And will employers see them as valuable professional experiences when applying for full-time roles? And so, Keona, I'm going to start with you and then ask Chelsea to weigh in.
Thank you. I definitely see virtual internships being worth it and something that employers are looking at, especially this summer, and looking for full-time hires after COVID-19. As we mentioned, there are many transferable skills that you can build through virtual internships and through project-based internships. And the most important ones that we mentioned were problem solving, time management, and curiosity, and also the networking piece that you mentioned. Those are still things you can get from a virtual internship, or even you building your own summer curriculum. I feel like now more than ever, people are needing connection and feeling the need to reach out to folks and have conversations on a regular basis. Since we're not in the office, chatting with people in the cafe or in the restroom, like this is the time where people definitely are putting their hands and arms out there to reach out to folks who are looking for opportunities, jobs, or internships. So I think that networking piece you can definitely hone in on, as well as the other skill sets that you're looking to build through a virtual internship. Me personally, with our Xandr internship, we are doing a lot to make sure that our students still feel a part of the business and supported, that sense of belonging, but also building on those skill sets that they're looking for. So there is a way that companies are getting really creative with these opportunities. So I definitely don't think you should miss out on them.
Thank you so much. Chelsea, what would you add to that?
First of all, it's so awesome that Xandr's keeping their program. I mean, that's huge, because there's so many organizations who have had to pivot and to cancel. Listen, this is the thing. It's less a question about preference and more a conversation on the reality of where we're moving with work. And for some of you, you've probably heard the term, or maybe not, future of work. It's this buzzy, fancy topic that's like, what's the future of the workforce? What's the future of how people will get jobs? What's the future of the skill? What's the conversation on the skills and jobs that are necessary? And this is really a conversation about how work is changing. It's a conversation about, can you work effectively remotely? Could you be in California or Texas or New York City and get your work done? Or do you need to actually be in physical space with your colleagues? Now, I'm a fan of working with people, but it's a business conversation. So students, what's the point for you? You're building a skill. Even if virtual internships is a thing of the past, there's a skill that you're building in connecting with your colleagues who are multicultural, multi-generational. They live in different places in the country. You are building the skill of being able to communicate over a computer. or over the phone. And so I would look at it more as, even if this is the only time I do it, how can I maximize this experience so that I have a new skill set under my belt? That's what you want to be asking yourself. Because again, it's likely for some of you, you will try a virtual internship and your full-time offer could be virtual. Some organizations may say, we're going to go completely virtual. It's very possible. And so you want to start flexing your muscle and look at it as an opportunity.
Chelsea, I love that answer. And it resonates so much because you're right. We're talking within this one moment, this one paradigm where everything is turned on its head because of the pandemic. But truth be told, we are moving closer and more fully into understanding virtual taking up, rather than like 5% of a company's time, it's upwards of 30, 50, 70. Everyone is kind of coming to this understanding collectively. And I love that you said it's about skills, and that no matter what, a virtual internship is still a valuable skill building experience. So thank you so much for sort of wrapping up our panel portion of the discussion on that wonderful high note. I want to thank you both in terms of just, how amazing you've been in answering those questions. And we want to pivot now to actually open it up to Q&A. So we've selected questions from our Girls Who Code alumni and community who are viewing this conversation and would like further guidance. The first question comes from Andrea W. There are a lot of unpaid and remote internship opportunities online now. Do you foresee internships being remote from now on, since they can be more flexible and they potentially pay students less? So very similar to what we were just talking about, but with a little twist, especially that part about, being a little bit more flexible and paying less. I don't know, Keona, if you want to start by just giving us your thoughts in response to that.
For this question, I definitely thought of the future of work, how many companies are going virtual anyway. At the same time, there is a value in on-site interviews, so I'm not too sure. There are definitely key points and a value of it. For example, the candidate experience and really being able to show the culture of a company. That's something that you really get from a on-site experience, and that's something that companies are considering right now as we're figuring out COVID-19. For us personally at Xandr, I know there is also onboarding considerations, and onboarding is the most important part of an employer and an intern's experience at a company. That can depict if they stay at the company or not, how long they're there. If that onboarding piece isn't right, then it could slip. And that's something that companies are also thinking about. So it's a toss-up. We shall see what happens. The last point on internships, virtual internships being more flexible and students being paid less, I'm not quite sure of that. I think internships are still, I won't assume that they're all as much flexible, even though they're virtual. They still have 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and students are still expected to be at their computer and their desk during that time, even though we can't actually see what's happening. That's still an expectation. And for many internships where students were already getting paid for their opportunities, but it changed virtual, they're still getting those hourly wages or salary for that opportunity. So I wouldn't assume that for all opportunities or all virtual internships.
Thank you so much, Keona, for giving us so much info on that, especially the kind of spicy question about pay or accountability or what it may look like and the assumptions we have about it being less than. In fact, it might be very equal to what the other in-person experience is. So thank you for weighing in on that too. Chelsea, what's your response to that?
Well, you were speaking so eloquently about it, because I was going to say, I think the presumption is that you're getting less or that it is unpaid, when in actuality, in many ways, employers will save money. Large companies, medium-sized companies, their intern programs, there's an investment, right? There's a fee in having your interns, how much you're paid interns, but then also all the programming, all the free swag and snacks you get, all the events and stuff, there's a cost to that. And so now that sadly, that won't be a part of summer 2020 or even fall intern recruiting, a lot of this is speculation. We don't know. But I would say, I think most employers want to do the right thing by early career talent. You are a part of their future workforce and really a part of their employee base. And so, they want to make you happy. They want you to be excited about your role. So I think most people are going to try to keep pay and competitive pay and benefits and perks where they can, even through times like COVID. So this year we might see a shift and an adjustment, but I think when you think about the full space of university recruiting, culture, and let's also talk diversity and inclusion, this is Girls Who Code. There's also a big focus on how do we provide diverse offerings and benefits to our employees. So I don't think it's something that people are ignoring.
No, I appreciate that. And I think both you and Keona touch on sort of like all of a sudden onboarding doesn't go out the window. All of a sudden valuing, people who are coming on board doesn't go out the window. These are still internships that could result in a full-time opportunity and wanting to bring you into that full experience. So I'm glad to hear you kind of support that companies are giving this thought and that folks shouldn't assume that, as you said, that it would be a less than experience. So thank you for sharing that. So our next question is from Lena G. What skills or experience should internship and job seekers highlight on their resumes to get noticed by recruiters during this time? Keona, do you want to start with that one?
Yes. I think we mentioned some of the soft skills, but some of the hard skills, such as the skills that I would recommend that candidates or interns have on their resume are any certificates or courses that they're taking during this time. There's a way that you can add that on your resume. You can put it on there, you can have a link to it and the dates that you took that course and a brief description of it. You can also put any volunteer opportunities that you're currently involved in or expecting to be involved in. You can put that on your resume as well and continue to ask folks, especially with LinkedIn now, your virtual resume, you can ask folks for endorsements or recommendations through LinkedIn. So even if it's a freelance opportunity that you're doing, add that on your portfolio. I think employers definitely want to see that, and that can make your resume stand out.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Chelsea, what would you add, if anything?
Yeah. The two things that come to mind, the first more technical, quantify your experiences. Some of you say, what does quantifying means? You're telling a story by telling me the impact of every statement that you have for every role or responsibility, leadership role, internship that you've had. Simply saying, I'm a part of the marketing club. I send out social media. I take care of all social media efforts. You got to give me more information. How many people are you reaching through social media? How often are you posting? What platforms are you using? When you give an employer all that information, they can really think about your impact. They can think about all that you did to make a difference. And so I want all of you to think about your resumes and make sure that you're telling strong stories. The next thing is you want to make sure that your resume really speaks to who you are. You want to be authentic. I say it all the time, never add anything on your resume just for fluff. Be very truthful to what you put that's really a part of who you are, because when it comes to the interview, it's just going to make that process a lot more easy because people will be using that as their guide to interview you. I can remember my Wall Street days where there were some students who fluffed their resume with hobbies and skills that I didn't really care about, and it came up in the interview and the response turned the interviewers off because it wasn't authentic. And it completely, messed up their chance of getting the internship. So be yourself, highlight your skills, highlight your story, and don't shy away from it, because that's going to be the competitive advantage that you have to stand apart from the rest.
I love that. Thank you so much. That is sound advice. And, it's always important that you never add extra things to your resume that you don't need to add to your resume. So thank you for double clicking on that. We're down to our last question. And so it comes from Lancy T. Do you think the possibilities for international students would be lower if everything would be virtual to get sponsorship for work, a work visa after graduation? So that's a little bit of a curveball. I don't know if either of you are prepared to think that through a little bit, but anything that you can say in support of our international students that would be helpful at this time, we will take it. And, Chelsea, I know you just spoke, but why don't you jump in and tell us what you're thinking, and then I'll ask Keona to wrap up that final Q&A question.
Yeah, the biggest thing I could say about international students is so much of it is employer to employer. Sponsorship is very much employer to employer. Stay in the game. That's the biggest thing I could say, because, and I think we talked about this earlier, keep that hope keep that grind going, keep those connections strong. Don't tap out because right now it's difficult. And I want to acknowledge, I understand the current situation. Okay. It's something many people are very aware of. And so you want to be mindful of where we are now, but understand in the fall, things can shift dramatically. So you want to be ready, right? You want to continue to connect with people. You want to continue to build your story and your marketing materials, your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn. And you want to explore all options. I'll end with this point. Sometimes we have one particular lens or pathway that we think is the pathway, but we were talking earlier, it was brought up Upwork, I believe, Keona, you mentioned Upwork or Fiverr, any of these freelancing opportunities. You got to work the skill. If you have a skill, that skill can be leveraged at a company. It can be leveraged at a nonprofit. It can be leveraged for a small business, for a freelancer themselves. Think about your skill and how that can be used in the marketplace. And I believe that that will help you advance in your early career days.
Thank you so much for that. Keona, what advice do you have for our international students?
My advice is very similar: to keep the grind going, keep your relationships that you have, and keep on working on yourself, because as Chelsea mentioned, you never know what's going to happen. One thing I didn't mention in the last question, and this goes to all students, is your skills that you're building. Definitely feel free to add those, especially if they're like concrete visual skills for our technical folks, our creatives out there. If you have a GitHub or a project you've been working on, definitely add that to your portfolio. I know from my sister, that's one example. She does graphic design and it's been hard for her to find an opportunity. So definitely for her, I'm encouraging her to keep on working on your portfolio. You want to continue working on typography. This is the time to do it, start watching videos, staying connected with folks, and adding whatever you're building or you're learning. Put it on your resume. You can create your own website now, and a lot of those are free now. So those are some things I would keep in mind. And as Chelsea mentioned, keep the connections going. You never know what can happen and what is next to come. So I would say one thing with that is follow-up is so important. I feel like people reach out to me and we have a great conversation, but I don't hear from them. I don't hear from them for like months or never at all. So I think it's important to follow up, especially during this time. You can send a brief message to someone who you looked up to or someone who you haven't spoken to in a while, but you really admired. Go for it and just say, hey, I've been thinking about you and I enjoyed your conversation that we had about XYZ. I'd love to check in. I'd love to follow up. I love when students I've worked with in the past, they give me an overview on like what they've been working on or like what's happening, or an update, a life update. I love that because I never know, like you never know when an opportunity can come up and I'm like, hey, I just had that conversation with Alex. Let me hook him up or let me share this opportunity with him.
I love that.
May I just add one more? May I add something really quickly? Because I think that piece about follow-up is so essential. Even if that's the one thing that you take away from today, I have to speak to that because I'll give a quick example. A week ago, a similar webinar, it was a global webinar, so we had about 800 students on. We had 100 come to LinkedIn and connect with us on LinkedIn, but I had 2 who found my email. They found my email. Some way, somehow they found the email. And they were the only 2 of 850 who actually went that far. They took it one step further to send an email to connect. We're busy, but we make time for persistent students and professionals. What's my point? Those 2 students emailed me. I didn't initially respond. They followed up and I set about 45 minutes to speak with both of them. And now we're connecting them to different resources. Stay committed and consistent. Please, when you don't hear from someone, don't think that means they're not interested in speaking with you. People have 1,000,001 things that they're doing, but your persistency and patience at the same time are really important to make sure that you keep the connection strong.
I love that story. 800, but 2 who followed up and then followed up again because you didn't get back to them right away and then you were able to connect them. I love that. Our networks are so vital. And so remember, our sisterhood is also this network. The fact that both of you have made yourselves available tonight, you will, as we talked about, hear from our very diligent, resilient, persistent alums and other women who are in our network. So look out for those. And I just encourage our network to realize and sort of soak in all of this wisdom around follow-up and the network, because it's such a powerful thing. I want to thank you, panelists, for your just amazing, responses. I want to thank our viewers for the questions that came in and for everything that you shared and your candor in responding to our polls. We have come to the end of our discussion. I hope that you all enjoyed our time together as much as I did. It's that time again. Before you jump off, please don't leave. Let us know if you enjoyed tonight's conversation by completing our 1-minute survey. We're asking you basically to pull out your phone, go to the camera, hover your camera over the QR code on your screen, and please complete the survey. Your feedback is vital to us as we think about which topics are resonating and what we can do to support you in the future. On behalf of Girls Who Code, I'd like to thank our panelists, Keona and Chelsea, for joining us this evening. We hope to have you all join us for the final Girls Who Code Talk session on Thursday, June 11th, being moderated by our fearless leader and founder and CEO, Reshma Sajani. Please be sure to follow us on social media, and everyone have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.